housing, the original housing, I cut the top off so that I could fit the new fuel pump through because it's a little bit fatter. And then I have it all clicked and back in the assembly here. I also use the original filter because it's built on an angle so it fits in the original casing better. So basically that's gonna go back in. This is gonna get clicked on here. And then from here, where this all slides in, it holds the pump where it needs to be. Now I'm gonna drill a hole through here, through this nylon, bring your rubber hose out. The rubber hose is gonna come up and click right here into the inlet, or should I say the outlet of the fuel pump to go out to the front of the car. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna just drill right here my new fitting for the return, because I'm gonna run a return line on the tank. But everything else, I used all the same wiring. I've just disconnected. I'm not doing anything with the wiring here, but as you can see, I have the new pump in the cylinder. I clicked it together. A lot of people use zip ties and stuff, but instead I cut it a little bit bigger so that it would fit and click in perfectly. And it's clicked in the housing, and this is gonna go here. So like I said, now I'm just gonna run the outlet, and for the fuel pump line, I'm getting submersible line. It's gonna come through, it's gonna stick out of this part here, and it's gonna come right up to the inlet here. So I trimmed all this so I could get it back around, and it's got both mounting brackets back in. So this is gonna sit here. Hold on one second. Okay, so I got the new pump in with the fittings to hold it in place. And it's not gonna move around much once the fuel pump's in, the fitting I mean. So now I'm gonna put the new line on. I'm ordering the line. It's gonna come through here, it's gonna be clamped. It's gonna come through the outlet into this side right here, the side that has the outlet going out. This right here was the original, bypass through and everything to the regulator. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna plug this with some of my extra line and screw a bolt through it, clamp it tight, and plug that one little spot there so I can have the fuel going in and all the pressure still building up in there. All right, so everything is back together. I have the fuel pump in its original spot. I have the outlet hose here. So the outlet of the fuel pump's gonna come out of this line, come back into the original inlet right here on the pump. This inlet is gonna come out to the car, and this, I don't want the fuel coming in with the pressure and backing out here, so I'm gonna put rubber line with a clamp and a bolt at the end just to keep that plugged off so it builds up the pressure it needs in here to come out of the tank. But as you can see in there, it's all routed. I just cut the housing a little bit to make it fits in. Original plug for the tank went in, so I didn't have to change any of the plugs. Everything's plugged back in, so I still have my working fuel gauge, everything. So that's all in. I'm gonna put that inlet there, run it to the top here, use a couple hose clamps, put a plug here, plug that so all the pressure's coming out, and I'm gonna have to build my return next. So now I have to put the return in the line. I have this adapter fitting. This is a bulkhead fitting. It has the 8th MBT out, and I have the nipple already for it. This is gonna go through the tank sending unit and come out and return. So I'm putting it right here where this recessed block is, right by the plug. That's gonna come right through there. It's gonna come out right there and return all the fuel. I put my 1/8 inch set here hole, so now it's centered where it needs to be, and I'm gonna use a step bit to open that up. Alright, so now I'm gonna mount this bulkhead fitting. As you can see, fits in nice and snug. I'm gonna use fuel rated gasket maker, nut it on the bottom so that I have my return, and I'm gonna put it right here just so that I can fit the fuel, because if it's over here I can't get the fuel line on, so I just need it turned a little bit so I could slide the line on. I got the return fitting in with some gas sealant and it's collared on the back side, and it's just gonna spray out and return into the tank because it's just a return. It doesn't really matter if it goes to the bottom or not. So that's the return right over by the plug. I got on an angle here so I can get the line on it, and that should be it. So I mounted the fuel pressure regulator right here on the driver's side strut tower mount, and I'll run my hard line return down, and I'll run my, I'm gonna put a bung right here with a fitting, run the line around into the back here, and then all the excess return is gonna go down over into the tank. So I'm gonna run from here to the tank, and then from here to the end of the fuel rail, which I am gonna drill and tap and put a fitting in. What's up everybody, AJ's Builds here. I'm back at my house finishing up the fuel sending unit because I had to stop at the parts store and grab some submersible fuel line. So let me show you what I got here. So the fuel pump is in its original spot where it would go originally. It's in the original holder as well. I trimmed the original holder so that I could get it to fit better and click it in place. Then I took the 5/16 submersible fuel line and I attached it to the outlet of the fuel pump. I drilled a hole in the housing here so the fuel line could run out and then come up into the outlet of the sending unit. So the sending unit, here's the top of the sending unit. This is where the push on, click on fuel feed goes, right here. And it runs through, it comes down into here. This in here is a whole filtered system. And originally the fuel would come in, it would come back out, and it would also tie into these units here, which are all for the fuel regulator. But I kept all the stock wiring so that I still have my fuel gauge. And so what I did here was, so I had the line running out, and this piece had a crossbar on it. It would cross from here to here. But to me, the way it sits in the tank, it sits down like this, and the gravity pulls it down, and then it comes up a little bit when there's fuel in it. But as you can see, that bar where it crosses would have been in the way of the line. I didn't want to kink the line, and I didn't want to wear the line out. So I cut that piece off because it still clicks in on both sides here. And when it's in the fuel, it's not like it's just like heavy weight, because the fuel is actually holding that unit up a bit. And as you can see, it still is really sturdy here. And I have no kinks in the line. It's just run nice and round in. But what I did was I took a piece of this 5/16 submergible fuel line and I put it on this outlet here, because this outlet was part of the whole filtered system through the regulator and everything. And now that I just went directly from the pump to the outlet, I didn't want this open because this and this tie in. So I plugged that so that I had the full pressure going up through and out instead of it leaking some of the fuel out. Because if some of the fuel poured out of this line here, I would end up losing the pressure coming up because the pressure would be released here. So what I did was I cut a piece off of this line, crimped it on, and I used a bolt, and I slid the bolt. I got a bolt that was extremely tight on the rubber, basically screwed it into the rubber all the way into about here, and then double lined it with hose clamps. So, but again, this isn't just standard fuel line. This line here was just a foot long, and it was $30. You can get it at any parts store. Let me see if I can get the part number here. It says right on it, I don't know if you guys can read it, but it says submersible, and then it's a 5/16 line. So it's submersible 5/16 line, and this brand line is Gates, which I got at O'Reilly's, but of course you guys could try to get at any parts store that it carries. You can also see that the original plug clicked in, and I have it all ready to go, and it also moves freely, and it has enough slack so that it doesn't kink on the way when it turns. But basically your tank, it's going to sit upright like this. So that's the fuel sending unit. That'll be going back in tomorrow, and I'll be running a line, which will be a return line. For this fitting I put in here. The reason why it looks blue is because this is fuel rated gasket maker. I just put that in just to give it a better seal, but there's no pressure here. It's just a return line. So I have a hard line that's going to be run from the car to the bottom of the tank, and then a rubber line that's going to come onto the 3/8 nipple here. So this is a 3/8 to 1/8 NPT, and this is a 90-degree adapter from NPT to 3/8, and it's a bulkhead fitting. So you can see here that it's got the nut at the bottom that just holds it on. And you don't have to put anything on there because it's just feeding the fuel back in. Doesn't matter if it trickles down or anything like that. So that's the fuel sending unit. And like I said, I'll be finishing the rest of the fuel system tomorrow, putting the fuel line in, and you guys can see more videos on that in the next upload. This is AJ's Builds. This is the fuel sending unit that I just finished up. I'll be putting it back in the Ep3, and it should be done by the end of the week. I'll post another upload on me running the hard line and putting the regulator in and tapping the fuel rail. I'll see you guys next time. This is AJ's Builds. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.